On the 17th of January, Islam Channel will be launching a brilliant mini-series called Travel With Me. The first episode is showcasing Destination Bosnia. Now, what is Bosnia like as a tourist destination? What are the travel recommendations, places you must visit, the do's and the don'ts? So joining us tonight for an insight on travelling to Bosnia is none other than the Chief Marketing Officer at Halal Booking. A very warm welcome indeed to Ufuk. Secgin. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah. How are you?
Yeah, good, alhamdulillah. I mean, Bosnia has just been one of my favourite destinations, one of the top destinations to visit. I haven't been there just yet, so I can't wait to hear more about it. So, Bosnia, when is the best time to visit Bosnia?
Depends on what you would like to do. If you're more into culture, history, I would recommend after April till June. And then maybe in September again. If you're into skiing, February, March is the ideal time for visiting Bosnia. If you are not, if you don't want to be in the heat, then maybe you avoid July, August to experience Sarajevo and Mostar and the other places. I would recommend springtime and then maybe September, October time, yeah.
Okay, so any time of the year, depending on what tickles your fancy.
Exactly.
Is there any COVID restrictions at all at the moment there?
COVID restrictions are similar to the European Union. So it's fairly easy now to travel, basically.
Oh, okay. Then
I mean, most of the countries have now adapted to the post-pandemic, I would say.
Yeah.
Travelers are they are aware of the rules, wearing masks and just be careful. And if you're double vaccinated, usually you can travel most of the world fairly freely and easily.
Excellent. That's really good to know, because I think that's part of your pre-planning when you're flying everywhere. Yeah. What would you consider a must-know for people planning a trip to Bosnia?
Bosnia, obviously, especially as Muslims, we always think of it of a Muslim country, but we need to be aware that it's a quite ethnically divided country. So about half of the population are Bosniaks, who are Muslims, and then the other half is split into Serbs and the Croats, which are Catholic and Orthodox Christians. And it's quite an interesting place to visit, because you can see the old Ottoman heritage and Muslim heritage, but you can also see the influence of the Austrian Empire, but also from the Soviet Union. There were some influences, obviously, because Yugoslavia, ex-Yugoslavia, was part of the Eastern Bloc as well. So Sarajevo, you can see 3 types of Sarajevo, really. Wow. If any visit it. It's very interesting.
It's very rich in history, and so much has happened. Why do you think that Bosnia, in recent years, has now picked up tourism? Because I feel like now, all of a sudden, we are talking about visiting Bosnia rather than just talking about the historical events. It's time to...
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. For mainland Europeans, I think Bosnia has always been interesting for the Muslim population because of its Muslim heritage. I mean, Bosnia was conquered by the Ottoman Empire in the 1460s. So basically for 500 years, 600 years, it has been a Muslim country. And with lots of history and mosques and old bridges, etc. So a lot of mainland Europeans, Muslims from Germany, from France, etc., they used to travel. I think the Brits are now waking up in the last few years to discover Bosnia, and I think it's a fantastic place to visit. It's a must-visit place.
Stunning. The pictures that I've seen and people who have posted anything up of the videos of Bosnia has just phenomenal. It just seems so pure and untouched in a way. The nature and the scenes, it's beautiful. So right now we're showing pictures of the mosque, Ghazrif. It's a mosque.
Yeah, so we are seeing Gazi Husrev Beg Mosque, which is basically the central mosque of Bosnia-Herzegovina. It's the biggest mosque, and was built by the governor of Bosnia, who was, he conquered basically on behalf of the Ottoman Empire Bosnia, and he was the main governor for decades, and he built that mosque, and it's fantastic. I think this is the Emperor Mosque, which is the first mosque which was built in Bosnia. So it has got lots of historic history, basically, because it's the first mosque in Bosnia in the Balkans, and basically a symbol that Islam has also come to Europe as well.
Interesting.
Yes.
So, I mean, you've mentioned certain sites. Are there any particular other historical sites?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, if you only have a few days to visit places, I would recommend, obviously, to go to Sarajevo, the Baš Čarši place, which is basically the main bazaar, which was also built in the 1450s, 60s. It's the main place where you can experience lots of the historical sites, but also Bosnian traditional food and cuisine, and buy souvenirs, etc. So definitely a place to go. Obviously, the mosque which we just mentioned, Gazi Husrev Beg Mosque. Also, something more about the recent history, I would definitely pay a visit to the Tunnel Museum. So during the Bosnian War in the 90s, parts of Sarajevo were completely surrounded by the Serbian forces, and it was cut off from the rest of the Bosnia. So a tunnel was dug, which was basically the lifeline of the city. All the food supplies and weapons as well, armory, were going through this small, tiny tunnel, and it's definitely an interesting place to see. The Latin Bridge, which was also built during the Ottoman Empire, has got lots of history as well, because the Crown Prince of Austria was assassinated there, and that basically triggered the First World War. So because of the Crown Prince murdered by a Serbian assassin, Austria-Hungary basically entered into a war into Bosnia, which was protected by Russia back then, and that triggered basically an effect that most of the countries had to enter the war in the First World War.
I believe that there's a war memorial.
Yes,
cemetery there as well.
The war memorial, Kovaci War Memorial, which has got a lot of the shaheeds from the Bosnian War, and also the president, Alija Izetbegović, he wanted to be buried amongst his shaheeds, because he was, he was an inspirational leader. He was the first president of Bosnia, and it's a very emotional place to go. I would definitely recommend that place as well. And I think those are the main places I would recommend to see in Sarajevo. If you have more time, then I would suggest going to Mostar. Mostar is fantastically beautiful, has got this historic bridge, Mostar Stari Most Bridge, which was also destroyed during the Bosnian War, unfortunately, by the Croats. It was standing there for 427 years. And then, unfortunately, it was shelled by tanks. But it was rebuilt. I think by the European Union or by Turkey, they funded the reconstruction of the bridge. And I mean, Mostar's old city is definitely worth a visit, and also to visit, see the bridge. And there is a mosque nearby. You have to pay entrance to go on the top of the minaret, but it gives you an amazing view of the bridge and the old city, and it's worth the €6 or whatever you have to pay. But it's quite a steep walk up on top of the minaret, basically.
So you basically have to be physically fit, or at least prepare yourself.
But it is amazing. It's worth it.
The views are phenomenal. Obviously, the pictures are up on the screen now. And it just looks so untouched in so many ways.
Yes.
I mean, you were just talking about the cuisine, and everybody loves their food, alhamdulillah. What type of cuisines is there out there?
I mean, it's not too spicy, that food. So, if people of India and Pakistan heritage might find it a bit blunt, but it is a mixture of Mediterranean, Turkish cuisine, because obviously the Ottoman history. So a lot of the dishes have got actually Turkish names as well. There's lots of vegetable stews, but also meat stews, bureks. My my personal favorite is the lamb on the spit. It's just so fantastic. I mean, there's a place, I forgot the name of the place. It's between Sarajevo and Mostar. It's called the capital, basically, of the lamb spit, basically.
Okay.
It's just phenomenal.
Wow.
You have to just taste it. I think it's to do with the animals, how they are being fed in the Bosnian mountains with this, you know, the grass, etc. And the way they prepare it is just phenomenal.
You're making me hungry already so much. I wouldn't mind actually eating that right now. Why do you think it's so important for Muslims to visit Bosnia in particular?
I think it's the living example that Muslims are part of Europe. We haven't arrived in the 60s, 70s. Yes, a lot of us came to Europe in the 60s, but you know, Muslims have been living for centuries in the heart of Europe, in Bosnia, for example, or also in Andalusia in Spain. That's why it's another important place to visit. So I think to experience that for centuries Muslims have been living, I think it's essential for the children to see it as well, to see this is, you know, something to be proud of, the monuments, the mosques, the bridges, all the fantastic architecture, just to experience, and the food, the cuisine, the culture, all of it, I think, is important to experience that this is part of Europe. It's Central Europe, and for almost in the 90s, all of it was destroyed, and the Bosniaks were almost expelled from their own country. Yeah. And it's sad to see that we are seeing again some moves by Serbian Bosniaks with nationalists, basically, who are basically trying to become independent from Bosnia again, and the tensions are rising again. Yeah. So I hope we won't see a repeat of history, but I would definitely recommend anyone to go and see it, experience it, and also support the Bosnian economy, because it's a small country, and people rely on travel and tourism as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's just seeing the pictures has always made me want to go. And I've always attended any talks around Bosnia, which is absolutely stunning. But I'm so enlightened, and I hope that our viewers who are watching has just as enlightened as well. And even those who have visited Bosnia, please do share your stories on our social media as well. But Jazakallah khair for joining us. Inshallah, do come back with another destination too.
Inshallah.
Well, you know, I do recommend that you do stay tuned for Monday the 17th of January, where we will be showing the travel series at 9 p.m. So Travel with Me, that's what it's called. But it's time now for a short break. Stay tuned for more when we return.